What's up, guys? It's Lauren. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created these chunky highlights. I've been seeing a lot of client requests that are wanting these type of chunky highlights right around the hairline, and honestly there are so many different techniques on how to achieve this type of look. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways that I have created this type of vibe on 3 different clients. So this is my first client, and she already has some previous color on her ends that I need to be a little bit careful with because her hair was previously highlighted, but she also has a lot of virgin hair that's grown out a ton, and she's wanting to do more of like a purple chunky underlight on the underneath and have some peekaboos coming through the front, just like this photo. And I think it's crazy because I've gotten so many client messages sending this exact photo or some photo from this salon, and I looked up the salon, and the salon is based in Australia. So I think it's crazy that there's so many clients in LA here. I can't speak for other states, but for here specifically, that I've seen clients wanting this specific photo. I think it's rare when you come across a photo that's like gone viral and a bunch of clients are asking for the exact photo. So I think it's cool. You can kind of like see the power of social media and things going viral, which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, if you are a hairdresser and have gotten this photo, give this video a thumbs up or comment down below, because I want to know it's not just me, that a lot of clients have been texting me this exact photo. And this is my color placement. I went ahead and sectioned out the hair before I started the color. I feel like this makes it easy for me to visually see what needs to be lightened, and also it gives me a chance to show the client where I'm going to be placing the light pieces before I even color her hair, to make sure that we're totally on the same page every step of the way, because this color can be very specific, and I feel like it's important to make sure that you and your client are on the same page, especially when you go through consultations, so that they are 100% happy with the color that they get. So for her color application, once I was done sectioning, I went ahead and did slices all the way up and made sure to take really thin sections so that I could get maximum amount of lift. And in between these sections, once the foils kind of lifted to about a level 8, I went ahead and tapped the root between each foil so that we could lighten the root as well. And this part was super tricky because it's kind of hard to not get lightener on the hair that is right next to it that needs to stay black to get that high contrast. After that, I went ahead and toned the top half of her head because she still had that color on the end and she wanted it to all be the same color on the top half. So I went ahead and toned it with the Pulp-Rite Liquid Demi. I used 3.0 and I just put it on her top while the ends were processing. And then once that was all done, I went ahead and pulled out the foils once it reached to about a level 9 and 10. There on the ends, the color was being a little bit stubborn because she had put previously color on her ends. So we just kind of left it because that's all that her hair could take for that day. And then after this, I pre-toned her with Pulp-Rite Barcelona Purple shampoo and let it sit while I went to go mix up her toner. But here before the purple shampoo, you can see her ends are being slightly more stubborn for that previously color than at the root. And here I toned her with the Pulp-Rite Rapid Toners. I used violet and silver to create this nice violety silver tone. And I left this on for about like 10-15 minutes and then washed and rinsed. And then after that, I took her back to my station and applied some Pulp-Rite semis. I used a Nevermore and a little bit of Deviant just to deepen her root just a little bit to make it a slight purple melt. And here is my client's after. You can see how beautiful and light that violet silver is there and how well hidden it is when she puts her hair down. But you can also see when she brings her hair forward that you can see the peekaboos there on the side. I think this technique is great for a client who is wanting creative color but just a taste of it, because you can definitely hide it but still have it when you bring your hair forward and see it when you want to because it is hidden. Alrighty, so moving on to my next client here, I already pre-sectioned her hair, and the difference between this technique and the one that I showed you before is for her, we're going to be doing a full solid underlight there. So this whole bottom section is going to be all blonde, so I went ahead and took slices back to back, but when I did this, I laid the hair right on top of the previous section that I had already applied. And the reason why I like to do this is because 1, it saves me time, and 2, it also saves me foils, and 3 is because it helps me ensure that the hair is fully saturated, because you're laying a thin slice of hair on top of hair that already has product on it, so I don't have to worry about the hair that's underneath, that it won't have product touching it. So when doing this technique, it's really important to make sure that you take very thin slices, and notice that I'm not really tapping her root just yet. I'm just doing about like an inch off from her scalp, and then later, once her mids and ends reach about a level 8, I will go back in and touch the root to lighten that up so that everything catches up. For this technique, I am using lightener and 20 vol throughout the whole underneath section. And since I'm just using one volume developer for the whole underneath section, I made sure to start in the back so that if the back was ready, I was able to rinse it out with no problem. It's super important when doing this technique to make sure that you fully saturate each section. Even though each section is like super thin, I like to make sure that I really put a thick layer of lightener on top of each section to make sure that I get an even lift when doing this technique. So I really want to go over what consultation is like when doing this technique. When I first came across a few client messages asking for this type of color placement, I was thinking, wow, this is going to be super easy because it's literally just a few highlights on the underneath. But when I actually did it, it did turn out to take a lot longer than I expected. And if you think about it, you're lightening these pieces pretty solid and they are getting pretty light, so they do sit and process for a while like a full color. So I would say, for me at least, I found that I had to start charging hourly when doing this technique because everyone's hair is different and lifts at a different pace and needs different things depending on what color they have previously on their hair or if it's virgin. So in the end, I felt like it was just easier to charge hourly for this technique because it is a creative color. Even though it's just like a few chunky pieces on the underneath and doesn't look like a lot of color, it does take a lot of time to do this type of technique because you're meticulously sectioning the hair and waiting for the hair to lift to a nice platinum level. Another tip that I would give while doing consultation for this type of color is to kind of let your clients know and give them options of different tones of possible different colors just in case that you can't get their hair as white as these photos. I feel like a lot of clients expect their hair to be as white as these photos and sometimes that's not the reality. So I would say I would always under promise and over deliver just in case and give you that cushion room just to do different colors in case their hair doesn't lighten all the way. So this is what my client's hair looked like after I was done applying her mids and ends there. And then I let this process and lift to about a level 8 before I started to tap the root there. And on the dark hair on the top, I put conditioner as like a barrier to make sure that the lightener didn't bleed onto there. And I just kind of like this process. I did squeegee off some lightener that was lightening up too fast there and then reapplied on some warm areas. But this is the after of her hair. She lifted to a nice level 9 and 10 and I toned her with the liquid demis. I used a 9-1, 9-2 and clear and she was super happy with the color and I was too. Honestly, it created such a beautiful light tone and she can see it so nicely when she brings her hair forward. It's perfect for clients who just want peekaboo of blonde in their hair and have a little fun. I would say the maintenance on this isn't too difficult. She could definitely grow it out because the highlights are pretty much on the underneath, so she wouldn't have to worry about her roots feeling grown out too bad there, but she could maintain the blonde with purple shampoo at home, and then once the roots grow out on the bottom, she could definitely come back in and re-highlight those. So my next client here, she pretty much has all virgin hair, but on the underneath there, you can see a slight chunk of color. She said that her friend bleached it for her and she put some color on it, so that's why you can see it's kind of like a reddish tone. So I had to watch out for that as I highlighted her. For this client, I went ahead and foiled her. I foiled her as if I was detailing her hairline and just did slices back to back with no space in between them. And for her, she wanted a more rooty, chunky piece, so I didn't touch the root. I went ahead and lifted her to about a level 9 and a 10. But for her money piece part at the top here, I did slices back to back, but once I did the last few highlights, I did baby lights just to blend in with her natural. So to keep her blonde nice and bright, I went ahead and mixed up some icy toner from the Pulbrite Rapid Toners and mixed that with 6 Vol. And then for her shadow root, I used from Faction 8, I used 5-1 with 6 Vol just to melt the blonde into her natural. And this is what the color looked like while it was processing. Since I used Icy Rapid Toner, it did start to process fairly quickly, but I did mix it 1-2 so it didn't process too fast. But I love watching it process because it is so satisfying to see all the yellow being canceled out and getting ashy. And here's my client's after. She absolutely loved the color. It looked just like her inspo photo, and I love how well Icy Toner really ashed out her blonde and made it such a nice silvery ashy blonde for her, because a lot of my clients with dark hair hate seeing any type of yellow, so it was honestly perfect for her hair. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this technique and if you guys would try this out. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next week.